Alright boys, welcome back to BBR Season 8. After 2 finals appearances in a row, we didn't do so hot last season. We had the second overall pick, we took Dragapult, didn't really build my favorite team around it. We went 3-5, we had a chance to make playoffs, absolutely choked week 8 unfortunately, so we didn't even make playoffs. And the worst part is I don't even think I played that bad. I went 3-5, but I think a lot of games were right there. We got super unlucky against Obo, we had a crazy good game versus Amo. Don't think I played the worst, but unfortunately, we just didn't pull through. We just didn't play good enough. We had a cool team, a fun team, Dragapult and friends. Didn't really mesh perfect. We made some transactions. We got Bernardo, the shining star, and he put us on his back, but unfortunately, we still fell flat. Speaking of Bernardo, no, we did not pick him first overall. We got emotes. For as low as 99 cents a month, you can become a channel member today and join me for hopefully weekly streams moving forward. And you know what, guys, on top of that, if you haven't already, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Helps me out a ton. Backstory out of the way, we're here with BBR Season 8. We're looking up. We're not looking towards last season. We're looking more towards those 2 final seasons in a row, trying to replicate that with the finals win this time. And I'll be honest, we did not get the best pick. There were a lot of top tier guys banned off the top of this board. There were things like Spectria, Deoxys, and Dragapult that might have been the only 3 that were banned, and that made the board a lot more shallow towards round 1. So we were really hoping for a top pick to try to get a really top tier guy in this very lackluster top half of the board. And we got pick 11, which is one of the worst picks I could have possibly imagined. However, that being said, the Pokemon that I wanted the most, Gouging Fire, could possibly make it to us at 11. Gouging Fire is a Pokemon that I have not really seen used super well. At least I've not seen super great teams around it, or any teams that I have personally really liked, so it's a mon that I really want to use. Unfortunately though, the person right before us, Kurt Antonio, who was drafting for him, thought the exact same thing. So they took Gouging Fire, the pick before us. However, there was a Pokemon that probably shouldn't have made it to us at pick 11, given the board that we had. And that Pokemon is going to be LATIOS. LATIOS is a Pokemon that I've really been wanting to try this generation, and using him as our centerpiece in the BBR is a perfect opportunity to do so. For those of you that do not know, Luster Purge, its signature move, got a buff this generation. It's now 95 base power and has a chance to lower the special defense of your opponent by 1 stage, by 50%, by the way. I'm not going to drag on this Pokemon too long, but I like this Pokemon a lot because it's extremely versatile. It can be physical or special. You have Calm Mind, you have Dragon Dance, you have Recover. And not only that, but it's a top tier threat that can set up other Pokemon very well as be an in-game sweeper itself. While LATIOS is amazing, building around LATIOS is going to be the tricky part. There were a lot of different ways that I could have went with this second overall pick, but the next Pokemon that I really wanted was going to be Iron Hands, Uncle Mike. Unfortunately, with how shallow this board was, he was damn near a round 1 pick. I think it was the first pick in the second round, so unfortunately, did not quite make it to us. Shout out to Keegan for taking him, actually, who also helped us with the clips that you see in the background. Instead, I got a fan favorite, and I took him a little bit early, but I really want to try him without Terra, Annihilate. The thought process behind this pick and initially the Iron Hands pick was that I really wanted a good fighting to pair next to LATIOS. It pairs really well in the fact that it breaks the darks that LATIOS doesn't really want to deal with, and LATIOS now has Flip Turn on top of Baton Pass to be able to get momentum into that strong fighting as those dark types that want to switch into LATIOS come in, and Annihilate can take advantage of those dark types, especially the slower, bulkier ones. I'm going to say this next thing, and you guys might like it, you guys might not like it. Unfortunately, I've not seen non-Terra Annihilate used very well in the Wi-Fi community at all. Is this because D-Ray is the only person who drafts it and he never gives anybody else a chance? Who's to say? However, we get our chance now. I've always loved this Pokemon in concept with or without Terra. It's very fat, its dual stabs are non-resisted by pretty much anything in the game not named Zoroark Hisui. It has momentum and it has rocks. A lot of utility moves like Encore and Taunt. It's a fantastic Pokemon, and next to LATIOS, the best qualities of this Pokemon are going to be brought out. For the third round, I was extremely set on Glimmora, but unfortunately, Owen took Glimmora in round 3, so I was unable to get Glimmora next to Annihilate, who's a fantastic hazard remover blocker. How do you say that? So instead, I panicked. I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I did know I wanted something to resist fairies, so we're going to rely on a Pokemon that we have drafted several times here on the John Jr. channel. It's going to be Scizor. Scizor is a Pokemon that I am extremely comfortable with, and the primary purpose of this Pokemon was it was probably one of, if not the best, fairy resist left on the board. On top of that, it breaks the darks for LATIOS, and it has very strong, powerful momentum with Stab U-Turn, and it obviously gives us strong priority for the Pokemon faster than LATIOS with Technician Bullet Punch. And Quick Attack, do not forget about Quick Attack. How long have I been blurry for? I don't know. My fourth pick was always pretty much set in stone once I realized that I had LATIOS and I saw the rest of the board. I've learned that I don't play very very well unless I have a super elite speed tier, and while LATIOS' 110 is a fantastic speed tier, there are better speed tiers, and I wanted one of those better speed tiers kind of to mimic what we did with Iron Boulder in JJDL, and that elite speed tier is going to be another fan favorite, Weavile. We're bringing Weavile back for like what, the 6th season in Gen 9. This dude has always been fantastic for us even prior to the home release. This helps us break psychics for both Annihilate as well as LATIOS, on top of Scizor helping with that as well. It gives us another form of momentum with Baton Pass, and it gives us a strong knockoff user. If our opponent has a fairy type that they want to use as the Weavile switch in, but they also want to double it as the LATIOS switch in, we can knock off that covert cloak and make LATIOS' job a lot easier, or in general we can just make a split decision on that fairy type. Do you want to check LATIOS? Do you want to check Weavile? Obviously there are other Pokemon to do so, to check those certain Pokemon, but it's kind of just like a blanket idea. And this also gives us another setup threat. We are currently 4 for 4 on setup threats, and having all these offensive powerhouses next to LATIOS is surely going to make LATIOS' life a lot easier. After this, I will be completely honest, the draft board did get extremely shallow. It seemed more shallow than normal. I don't know why that is. And unfortunately, I got pretty busy during this time. This was when JJDL finals were going on, and I was prepping for that on top of having, you know, a real life. So I did not have as much time as I would have liked to make these picks. So we rushed a little bit and we took Diancie here. It gives us spikes, it gives us stealth rocks, double hazards into a team that doesn't have super reliable hazards up to now. Stealth rock Annihilate, which obviously we're not going to want to bring every single week. Diancie can kind of mitigate that and gives us 2 great hazards. On top of that, I think it was a little underpriced for 8 points, and it's also a fairy on a board with not very many good fairies. I think hazard stack is very good into LATIOS, into Annihilate, so that was kind of the theme of not only Diancie, but our next pick, Andy Shocks. I'm so excited to try this Pokemon. It was like number 3 on my most wanted to try Pokemon this generation. Number 1 is still Gouging Fire. We'll get there eventually. Again, Stealth Rocks, Spikes, gives us more reliable momentum, a great speed tier in base 101. And it also gives us some screens. You know how I love Annihilate screens. I love LATIOS screens too, probably. I don't know, setup threat screens. Sandy Shocks is capable of doing that. And I picked him because I like him. Past this, we get real deep into the I really don't know what I was doing at this point, and there are probably going to be transactions made. And that starts with Manaphy. Manaphy is going to be our next pick, a Pokemon that I actually really dislike, but there were very few waters that I really wanted to use with this team on the board, and Manaphy was a water type that beat other waters, which was very enticing to me because our team doesn't deal with waters the best. We have Andy Shocks, but it's not like I can hard switch in Andy Shocks on those waters, so Manaphy gives us that option. On top of that, it's more momentum, another setup sweeper, another knockoff user. I like all of these options next to LATIOS. As I've been saying with all of these Pokemon, these are the primary reasons why I've selected a ton of these picks. It is a massive point soaker. Is that the right term? I don't know. That feels like a slur almost. It soaks up a lot of points, and I don't love that. We might make some transactions, and Manaphy might be included. I'm not entirely sure yet. We have 2 picks left. We only have 9 Pokemon total, and I actually do think all 9 of our Pokemon are very important on this squad. The next Pokemon is going to be the Dunsparce. I know I said all Pokemon were important. The Dunsparce is the least so. We didn't have a Ghost Resist yet, and I didn't really want no Ghost Resist. I know there's no Spectrier, but there are still some Ghost types like Gengar. I don't know, man. I liked having a Ghost Resist. If I look at the matchups and I determine that people don't have good Ghost types, then I would probably drop the Dunsparce. But he gives us another rocker, and he's a cool guy. I enjoyed using him in the past. He's very bulky. Glare support is really nice with LATIOS and Annihilate as well. But if there is one Mon to go on the entire team, the Dunsparce is going to be the first one out. And then lastly, fate would have it, we had enough points for old reliable Weezing, one of my favorite low tier picks, who unfortunately might not stay, but he's very important right now because he is a ground immunity on a team with 0 ground resist. He's our poison type, which is awesome because we didn't have one in JJDL and got abused because of it. Gives us T-Spikes into Annihilate and LATIOS, which is going to be super fun, and gives us Will-O-Wisp support, which is something that is very crucial into a lot of big things that Weezing wants to check. I love Weezing so much, but he is the biggest. I pick him up for 2 weeks in the beginning of the season and then find ways to change my team. Merchant I've ever had, but he's awesome in those 2 weeks. Every single time he always performs. I love this guy. If I can find a way to keep him on the team, I absolutely will. He's one of my favorite budget picks, but there is another poison type on the board that I really like that I think I might pick up. So if that's the case, then Weezing's gonna have to go. And that's gonna be the team, guys. I'm gonna be honest, one of my least favorite drafts from this generation. I'm usually very confident with my drafts. This is maybe the least confident I've been all generation in a draft. It doesn't look bad. It's like a 7 out of 10. It's gonna be like 8th in power rankings if anybody does them probably. It has a lot of momentum, which I like. It really tries to make LATIOS the main Pokemon, which I like, but I just think there were probably better options to do that and get there. Like, I don't have a ground resist besides Weezing. There are some very obvious flaws I'm not going to delve super deep into, but there will be some transactions that are going to be coming within the next couple weeks. But I will say, no matter what, LATIOS and Annihilate are safe. Those two Pokemon I want to use so bad. We're going to use them and we're going to have a good time. Week 1, and this is a little bit surreal, we play a friend of mine who used to be my favorite Pokemon YouTuber, definitely not anymore, Leo. And thankfully for us, this dude closed his eyes, doesn't know how to draft. If you want to check out his draft analysis, you can check that out in the top right-hand corner. If I forget to put it there, my bad. Should be a good matchup, guys. He's a very good battler, and I very much look forward to playing him for the first time in Generation 9. But with all that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to sub if you've made it this far. Leave a like too, man. It helps out a ton. You have no idea. I'm trying to get to 3,000 by the end of the year. And for now, guys, this has been John Jr. signing off.